I started making this video purely for my own benefit. I wanted to see if A, there was any significant difference between the original GoPro HD Hero and the Hero 2, and B, if the changes that were made produced a better or worse product. They claim 2 times more powerful in every way, but the most important thing to many people is the picture quality, so this video only covers those aspects. I will make another video that reviews the technical and interface changes between the two later. This first shot demos my messy stovetop range. I just think it adds to the texture of the shot, right? When I turn down the lights, the difference in color is much more obvious between the two cameras, but both shots look pretty good. This texture detail and color test shows some interesting things. The original GoPro comes off with a more blue-green color, and seems to lose a hint of detail, but nothing to write home about. The big difference seems to be a white balance issue, in which the new GoPro seems to perform much better. During the transition from outside to inside, you can see a slight delay in the brightness of the original. Again, the interior seems to be handled better on the new GoPro purely due to white balance. The GoPro 1 comes off pretty yellow. The yellowness of the setting is even more evident in this shot. Also, it's difficult to say for sure, but if you pause the video, it looks like the new GoPro actually runs at a slower shutter speed than the original in low light. And in extremely low light, the Hero 1 just fails altogether. This test was to see the speed of the response in light changes. It's fairly obvious that the GoPro 2 is significantly faster at this, which means you'll miss less of the action. Another extreme low light test. As you can see, the Hero 1 displays almost complete darkness, while the Hero 2 gives us a little bit at the beginning. It follows through at the end, even though most of the color is lost. This isn't exactly scientific, but it shows light bleed and light range capabilities between the two cameras, which is essentially identical. Again, I come back to color and white balance. I know these LEDs are stronger on the green end of the spectrum, and look, the HD Hero 2 shows a green glow, while the HD Hero 1 is a bluish purple. And responding to the light change, especially when getting darker, is better performed on the new GoPro. This is simply an example to show the difference between the fastest frame speeds between the two cameras. Obviously, the 120 frames per second is smoother than the 60 frames per second. The difference in quality of both at 480p is non-existent. The focal distance is pretty much the same, seeing as both are out of focus. The speed displayed here is 12.5%, effectively 15 frames per second on the left and 7.5 frames per second on the right. The quality and frame rate at 720p is also about the same. These are displayed at 25% speed, effectively 15 frames per second. And here is the very ghetto rig I used to film this whole thing. The following is time-lapse shots using both cameras. The color differences are less noticeable in the stills. One interesting thing is in the second time-lapse. The photo acquisition rate of the GoPro 1 is supposed to be half of what the GoPro 2 is, but I had to run the footage from the GoPro 1 at 43% speed. They may have changed how the time is kept on the new GoPro. For example, the old one may wait 1 second between photos, add the time it takes to complete the exposure and store it to memory, and that 7% discrepancy could be accounted for. While the Hero 2 might actually be programmed to take a shot every half a second, regardless of the time lost actually taking the photos. Also notice that in these two time-lapse videos, the difference in quality is not huge. You might say the HD Hero 2's 11 megapixels is over twice the size of the 5 megapixels of the original. Well, in actuality, the per square inch quality is measured logarithmically compared to the megapixels. The actual resolution of 2592 by 1944 and 3840 by 2880 means that the HD Hero 1's horizontal and vertical resolutions are actually less than 33% smaller. Yes, there is more than double the pixels in the image, but the size difference itself is actually fairly small. Overall, the picture quality between the two cameras is pretty similar, but the white balance and thus the perceived color correctness is significantly better on the updated model. Even with the 33% smaller pixels on the HD Hero 2's sensor, the noise and poor light is about the same, if not better, while the actual low light sensitivity is miles beyond the original. Part 2 of the comparison will contain more technical differences between the cameras, focusing on interface changes and hardware features. Please rate and favorite this video if you liked it, and consider subscribing. This isn't my normal MO for videos, but I enjoy going on adventures and bringing my GoPros along for the ride.